Hello, you're watching ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the Thames Valley. Ticket offices at railway stations will stay open. The plans are scrapped by the government after thousands of passengers said it's not on.
Ow!
What's happened? Don't move.
Just hurt my back.
A skydiver plummets to the ground, fracturing his spine. Mike from Andover thanks the air ambulance crews who saved his life.
Also this evening, wearing her magic trousers, Athena's story turned into a book to help other young people with the hip condition. She joins us in the studio.
And something very special is happening here at Winchester Cathedral tonight. Find out what with me a little later in the programme.
Good evening. Disability campaigners are celebrating after the government announced a U-turn on plans to close ticket offices at train stations.
Dozens of offices were due to close at stations in the Thames Valley, including at Reading, Basingstoke, Bracknell and Twyford.
Well, the move was described as catastrophic and discriminatory for elderly and disabled passengers, some of who wanted assistance when buying tickets.
Well, Wesley Smith reports now from Didcot Parkway, one of the stations that would have lost its ticket office.
There's huge relief for campaigners tonight at this big U-turn, it has to be said. The ticket offices live on, including here at Didcot Parkway. When I looked in a short time ago, they were pretty busy, to be honest. 750,000 people responded to the consultation, the vast majority of people saying they were against the closures to be replaced with ticket machines. That's according to passenger watchdogs. Now, the government said that only 1 in 10 tickets are currently sold at station counters, so closing them was right for taxpayers, but it hasn't been revealed how much would be saved by the move, especially because it was said ticket office staff would be redeployed to support passengers elsewhere in the stations. They now say the proposals failed to meet the threshold serving passengers. Well, I asked people passing through Didcot Parkway here what they thought of the reprieve.
Ticket offices are very useful for people who perhaps can't operate online, so I'd be in favour of keeping them open if it's possible.
Yes, I think it's a very good thing. Not only for elderly people like myself, but for everybody, and loads of people who are disabled, can't reach the machines.
The RMT union called it a resounding victory for the campaign. It now wants a summit with rail companies to ensure the future of their ticket office staff. The campaign group Transport for All welcomed the move to keep the ticket offices open, particularly for passengers who live with a disability or others who need support.
So we are delighted to see the government and the industry rolling back on what would have been disastrous plans to close all rail station ticket offices across England. Those proposals would have had a significant impact on disabled people's ability to buy the best price fare, to board a train safely, and to access facilities on a station, whether that's waiting rooms or toilets. So we're really glad that those are now off the table.
Many rail operators, though, are said to be furious at the news because they understood the plans had been approved. The Rail Delivery Group, which represents the rail companies, the proposals were about adapting to the needs of the smartphone era. So they'll now have to find alternative ways of improving passenger experience whilst continuing to deliver value for the taxpayer. Wesley Smith, ITV News, Didcot.
A man from Oxford who sexually assaulted 2 children has been jailed. Robert Ind, who's 76, abused his victims multiple times during the 1980s to the 2000s. He's been sentenced to 17 years in prison and will be on the sex offenders register for life.
A man who attacked his former partner and caused serious injuries to her face and stomach has been jailed. Gallus Beldam assaulted the woman at his home in Windsor in March. She managed to escape the property and fled on foot, managing to flag down a milkman in the town centre for help. Beldam, who is 49, is being jailed for 2 years.
A weather warning has been issued for parts of Berkshire, Buckinghamshire and Oxfordshire later this week as Storm Kieran sweeps across the Thames Valley. The Met Office says heavy rain and strong winds are likely from tomorrow evening and into Thursday. A yellow weather warning has been issued, meaning there is a small chance of damage to buildings, power cuts and flooding.
Reading FC have been issued with another winding up petition from HMRC over unpaid bills. The news comes after hundreds of fans marched to protest the club's financial situation and its current ownership. It's the second time the club has been hit with a winding up petition in 4 months. The club is currently up for sale, with reports that Sports Direct owner Mike Ashley has expressed an interest in taking over.
A former Royal Marines Commando has thanked air ambulance medics after a skydive went horribly wrong. Michael Oakes from Andover suffered catastrophic injuries after plummeting 15,000 feet when a mid-air manoeuvre didn't go as planned.
Well, Michael is no stranger to parachute jumps. He's completed nearly 380 of them, and he's been telling Rachel Hepworth he's determined to get back in the sky again.
Just another routine jump for former Commando Michael Oakes, his 8th of the weekend. But a complicated landing manoeuvre is going catastrophically wrong. He lands on the base of his spine at around 40 miles an hour.
First thing you do when you have a bad landing is you try and stand up quickly so that nobody sees what happened. Unfortunately, when I tried to stand up, I couldn't stand. And I remember laying back, and I realised when my name was being shouted that I was still lying on the grass and I'd become unconscious.
His body had gone into shock, but once awake, the pain began to kick in.
By all accounts, they could hear me screaming from across the airfield. Even now, it amazes me how much pain I was in.
Michael, you all right?
No.
A road ambulance was going to take 3 hours to arrive, but amazingly, the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Air Ambulance was just returning to its base 3 miles away at Thruxton. It arrived within minutes.
I can't explain how that felt. I was lying on the ground, and 1 minute I'm thinking, I'm not going to walk again. I'm not going to walk my dogs again. And the next second I was thinking, somebody's coming now. Somebody was there and was holding on to me and saying, you are going to be okay.
Michael was whisked to Southampton General, where it transpired he'd broken his spine. Emergency surgery followed, but miraculously his spinal cord was intact.
But extraordinarily, this was only a few weeks ago, and you are up and about now. It's remarkable.
I'm surprised too. I am able to stand up myself. I anticipate a near 100% recovery, which is great, because for me that means that I will be skydiving again. I'll be doing those Ironmans again and ultramarathons and all that other stuff that I enjoy doing.
His recovery has been extraordinary. I think it's even surprised the guys here, and that really is something special, and it spurs the guys on here to do that great work that they do out in the community.
Still on strong painkillers, Michael is now planning which Ironman event to do to raise money for the air ambulance. A big thank you to the charity which he believes has got him back on his feet. Rachel Hepworth, ITV News at Netheravon.
Community groups and charities in Hampshire are being encouraged to bid for funding to set up their own food pantries. Hampshire County Council says it has made money available to support those from high-need areas. Projects that help the most vulnerable will be eligible for support. Applications close on the 10th of November.
West Berkshire Council has begun gritting roads ready for the winter. More than 400 roads were gritted in the county between October and March last year. 1,000 tonnes of salt is kept at the Chieveley depot. The council uses information from roadside sensors as well as forecasts to decide when and where to grit.
Children are invited to join a 21-gun salute outside Windsor Castle to mark the King's birthday. The Royal Borough will be celebrating the monarch's 75th birthday with the annual firing of mini cannons on the Long Walk. It takes place on the 14th of November, starting at noon.
Now you're watching ITV News Meridian in the Thames Valley. Still to come on the programme, it is of course Halloween tonight, but it's also fireworks and bonfire season. So what effect does that have on the environment?
And this Halloween is all trick, no treat as far as the weather goes. We've got a stormy forecast for you with plenty of weather warnings coming up later.
More news on our website, itv.com/Meridian. Call us and follow us on social media. As the nights get colder, you may be tempted to take a hot water bottle to bed as a way of keeping those heating bills down.
But medical experts have sent out fresh warnings to check yours are not more than 2 years old, after reports of serious burns from leaking bottles went up by more than a third in the first 6 months of this year.
And a warning that Nick Smith's report does contain some images of burns.
Often seen as a low-cost method of keeping warm in winter, hot water bottles are part of a bedtime routine for millions of households. But data from the International Burn Injury Database, covering England and Wales, claims serious burning incidents from when the bottles leak or rupture are on a steady increase.
Yeah, good boy.
Georgia Hatton is still suffering from her injuries. A year after she received second and third degree burns, when her hot water bottle exploded one night after her mother Claire had prepared it for her to take to bed.
It was one of the worst moments of my life. All I can remember is the piercing scream I let out. I was in shock as well. I didn't process what had happened.
I had terrible mum guilt because I made that hot water bottle. When we first got her pyjama bottoms off, it was just red, but then literally within minutes I started seeing these massive blisters come up on her leg. I honestly didn't think hot water bottles could cause so much damage.
I'd say about 6 weeks I couldn't walk. I was in hospital. I was in the burns unit for a week. I couldn't put any weight on my leg. Traumatised now. I've got a bit of PTSD from hot water and things like that.
Hector doesn't like the water too hot. Boil the kettle, but let the water cool for about 10 minutes before filling.
The NHS has produced several warning videos on how to use hot water bottles safely. Baljit Diensa is a consultant burn surgeon at Queen Victoria Hospital in East Grinstead and advises his patients to avoid using them entirely with youngsters if they can.
I wouldn't recommend using hot water bottles for children because they can cause contact burns from directly touching them, but also they can cause scald injuries if there is a defective hot water bottle or if they leak.
Those at the Children's Burns Trust say the rise in reported injuries is alarming and they think it may have a direct link with families looking to minimise the cost of heating bills.
They are taking older bottles out of storage. They're looking for cheaper means of keeping warm. They are using bottles that have perhaps deteriorated and thus split. But we would advise that they look at the bottles that they've got. There should be around the neck of the bottle a flower sign with an indication of the year and month of manufacture. And frankly, if that is more than 2 years old, they should discard it.
Some wise words to take extra precautions, as the impact of a faulty hot water bottle can potentially last a lifetime. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Now the ITV National News is on the usual time of 6:30, and later this evening it's our current affairs programme On Assignment. With more, here's Raggy Omar.
Tonight, on assignment, according to official figures, a child goes missing in India every 8 minutes and every day. Hundreds of them turn up at the country's railway stations. Romilly Weeks is in Delhi finding out more. Ben Chapman is in Venice, where an invasive species of crab is marching across the Mediterranean, eating everything in its path and putting livelihoods at risk. And in a German forest, battle lines are being drawn, from knights to knaves, wizards to warlocks. Rhys Williams meets some of the world's most dedicated live action role players. That's On Assignment at 10:45.
Bonfire night is just round the corner and families will be setting off fireworks in back gardens or gathering at a community bonfire over the weekend.
But with studies showing air pollution levels are far higher on the night than normal, there are concerns about the impact displays are having on the environment. With more, here's Raheem Rashid.
We light them up and they light up our skies, but could our yearly bonfire night displays be harming the environment? The head of one local bonfire society in Sussex say they've been taking steps to make events greener.
We recycle absolutely as much as we can. A very good example, of course, are flaming torches. Unfortunately, yes, we dip them in paraffin, which is not the best thing for the environment, but the torches, sticks themselves, are all recycled timber that's been cut down. and the heads are made currently from reusing old coffee sacks.
Despite measures to make events more eco-friendly, researchers have found air pollution levels are 4 times higher on Bonfire Night than normal.
We see spikes in something called particulate matter, or PM, which is when you burn anything, it releases very fine particles. So what we find is every bonfire night we see a spike in readings. The magnitude of that spike, so sometimes we'll see it as high as 120 micrograms per cubic metre, when the normal level's about 10 to 15, something like that.
And the impact of Bonfire Night on our health can be significant.
Particulate matter impacts things like your lung function, asthma. It's even been indicated in your cognitive ability, so how well you think. So it has all sorts of different health implications, but it's really about long-term exposure. So one night isn't going to make much of a difference. Bonfire night is probably the same as sitting in front of a log burner for several hours on a winter's evening.
Organisers of major events are now looking for alternatives to fireworks, such as drone shows like this, which operators say emit far less pollution than traditional displays.
It's easy for fireworks to be seen as not sustainable in that they explode in the air, and you can see regularly the sort of debris left from fireworks, whereas our drones don't emit any sort of smoke or output in that manner, also particulates and things like that. So we can, as I say, take off and land without any real carbon impact, and the batteries then can be recharged, ready to go again the next day.
So, as we prepare to remember the 5th of November, it's hoped more of our bonfire celebrations turn a little greener. Raheem Rashid, ITV News.
But before Bonfire Night is, of course, Halloween.
Yeah, have you noticed I've come dressed a bit? This is kind of my tribute to a pumpkin.
Very appropriate.
Thank you.
And many of our viewers have been getting into the spooky spirit as well, picking and carving pumpkins, of course, decorating their homes and dressing up.
Well, look at this. Carol Scobie from Poole has turned her grand dogs into different ghostly characters. Let's talk you through some of them. Soul has been dressed up as a devil, Lady as a nun, Smudge as a clown, and Bella as... Guess. Can you guess?
Maleficent.
Maleficent.
Very good.
Beautifully said. There they are all together.
An 8-year-old girl who spent the first few years of her life with her legs in a harness and in casts is now happy and active thanks to doctors at Southampton Children's Hospital.
Athena Phillips from Ringwood in Hampshire was born with a severe form of hip dysplasia, which stops the ball and socket joints in the hip from developing properly. Without a clinical trial and treatment, she would have grown up with worsening pain and would have struggled with her mobility.
Well, now her journey and her remarkable recovery have been made into a book written by her mum, Alexa, to help other children with the same condition. We're delighted to say both Athena and Alexa are here to see us. Thank you very much for coming in, guys. Alexa, first of all, tell us about the book. What's it called and why?
This is Athena's Magic Trousers. The nature of the treatment puts a child in a spiker cast, which can look a bit brutal on a delicate little creature. So it looks at the lighter side. Athena's Magic Trousers, instead it's the magic of what this cast does.
Athena, you've got the book in front of you. Would you mind reading us a short piece? Yes, that's lovely.
When I was born, my hips were a pickle. They went clickety-click when you gave them a wiggle. I went to the surgeon who had a good look. They said, I can fix these. Let's show you how in this book.
And what do you remember about being in hospital?
I remember waking up with all the different colours of the casts on the walls.
How long was Athena in the cast? How long did the treatment go on for?
Between the Pavlik harness and the spikers and the surgery, she was probably about 1.5 years of full treatment.
So a long time. Athena, do you remember what it was like when the cast came off? Do you remember what you did?
I kissed my knees.
Kissed your knees. Great to be able to use them again.
And Athena, what kind of things do you do now? Are you very active? Do you like to be out and about?
I go on my trapeze, I like climbing trees, I go on my aerial hoop, I like paddle boarding.
That's very active.
Paddle boarding.
Very good. Alexa, just give us a sense of why you felt the need to write the book.
The team at Southampton Children's Hospital have changed the trajectory of her life. They've changed so much for her and given her opportunities that we could only dream of when we first found out about her diagnosis. So it's a massive thank you. How else do you say thank you? You can't, can you? So it's a way of helping the team explain it to families and to children, and also for the mums, dads, the families and the children to see that it's not a scary procedure, it's actually pretty magical.
Because you have to say, it is quite common, isn't it?
It is extremely common. I think, the moment you start talking about it, my next door neighbour, my sister actually, it is hugely common, and hopefully it will make it, a more widely known and more widely understood treatment.
And Athena, do you have a message that you'd like to give to the doctors that helped you?
Thank you, and they're cleverer than Dumbledore.
Now that is clever. That is some kind of cleverness.
Cleverer than Dumbledore, I think that says it all. Well, Athena and Alexa, thank you so much for coming and talking to us today.
Now, a new art installation inside Winchester Cathedral opened today. It's called Poppy Fields and is designed to offer both reflection about past conflicts and a message of hope for the future.
Yes, the stunning display set to music takes visitors on a journey through the cathedral. And tonight we are lucky enough to be among the first to view it. Sarah Gom's been at the cathedral.
Yes, this really is a breathtaking combination of light, music and poetry, all put together here at Winchester Cathedral to mark this traditional season of remembrance. And as we enter this beautiful nave, we are literally surrounded by poppies tumbling down these ancient walls. And then as we move through to different sections of the cathedral, the images and the music change to allow us to remember different sections of our communities who've all made their own sacrifices. The music accompanying this light display has been specially composed for this event, and there's poetry too, recited by Oscar-winning actor Eddie Redmayne. And one of the artists behind this stunning light show is Peter Walker, who we spoke to a little earlier.
In the nave here, the final piece, we have people will walk and they'll be fully immersed 360 in poppies. But that piece of artwork then moves into another artwork called Imagine Peace, and that's all about what peace might look like or feel like for us collectively. And it's actually quite an uplifting end to the artwork. So as well as reflecting and looking backwards, we look into the future, and through the times we're going through now, it's important to look at peace and what that means to us all collectively.
And as well as here in this incredible nave, there's a series of other installations throughout the cathedral. One is a moving tribute to the NHS, which looks at nursing through history and the roles of nurses such as Florence Nightingale and Mary Seacole. Others include dedications to the fallen. And if we move a little way down the nave now, we can join a very special guest here tonight, National Service veteran Michael Homer. Michael, thank you so much for joining us here this evening. Okay. Firstly, what do you make of what you've seen here so far?
Absolutely fantastic. I've never seen anything like it in my life, to be quite honest with you.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
And you're here with your team from the Royal British Legion fundraising here tonight. How important is an event like this for you?
Very important. As regards the Poppy Appeal, all the money from the Poppy Appeal goes to help veterans like myself from the Royal British Legion, and the Royal British Legion have really looked after me. There's no two ways about it. Brilliant.
They certainly have, haven't they? And you've spent the last 16 years collecting, haven't you, in your hometown of Fareham? And it's a cause so close to your heart.
It is, very much close to our heart. I thoroughly enjoyed those 16 years, really did. And one of the two things happened during that time is when COVID came along. We were shut straight down, not a problem. So I thought, right, we've got to make some money somewhere. So I visited 100 branches of the Royal British Legion in less than 100 hours by train, £4,200. But what the Royal British Legion does for me, the first thing is, the reason I'm in a wheelchair is through gunfire. I've lost my hearing and my balance due to gunfire, I'm saying, going back to 1958. But the Royal British Legion, what they've done for me is the first thing they did was put a ramp at my front door and an automatic front door. All I do is push a button and the door opens and in I go. then my hearing aids and other equipment I can hear properly.
Well, they've done wonders for you, but I think it's fair to say you've done wonders for them as well. Michael, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We know Michael and his team will be continuing their fundraising efforts across the next couple of weeks, and Poppy Fields will be here at Winchester Cathedral until Saturday.
Just brilliant, beautiful as well.
It is, and it's such a reminder because we always look back, don't we? But we don't remember how the sale of these poppies help our veterans now. Yeah, let's get your weather now, James Wright.
Whatever the weather, it always feels like home. Valent Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV Meridian Weather.
Hi there, good evening. I hope you've already been out trick-or-treating, because if you haven't, do take some wet weather gear. We've got yellow warnings in force once we get past this evening's rain. That's for both wind and rain. There's a set for tomorrow morning. There's another set tomorrow evening. Why? Well, it's all a bit unsettled at the moment. We've got Storm Kieran heading our way, and that's partly because of a big temperature differential over in the States. That's driving the jet stream. 200-mile-an-hour winds across the Atlantic up in the upper atmosphere. It's driving these depressions and storms towards us, of which Kieran is a big one, and it's certainly got plenty of very strong winds wrapped around it and yet more rain. Like I said, get your wet weather gear if you're heading out this evening, because we have got this band of rain pushing up across us, some heavy bursts in there. Even once that first system goes away, there's plenty of showers in behind it, and then the second one lined up for tomorrow morning. That's why I've got a yellow warning in force pretty much from Newbury southwards down to the coast. Temperatures pretty much irrelevant. Tomorrow morning, that band of rain moves its way a little bit further eastwards, plenty of showers in behind it, but windy too, and that's where we start getting the other yellow warnings in force, much more widely spread up to the M4 corridor later on tomorrow evening. Temperatures tomorrow a little bit milder, 13, 14, 15 if you're lucky. Won't feel it because of the strength of the breeze, but at least there'll be some brightness out there. Then Storm Kieran arrives. We've got an amber warning in force for pretty much the whole of the south coast area. 85-mile-an-hour winds on the coast is quite possible. Strong winds inland, which could lead to an awful lot of disruption.
Valent Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV Meridian Weather.
And that is it from us for this evening. In a moment, of course, the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
Matt will be back with your late news. No trick-or-treating for him, sadly. You're okay. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.